Welcome to the Virginia Insider Podcast, where we talk to the people that make our coastal region stand out. I am Chandler Nunnally, and our guest today is a really good one. This is a guy with an encyclopedic knowledge of game show history. He has a great love of cooking and an affinity for television, radio, and especially for local news. He's a longtime anchor of News 3 This Morning here in Hampton Roads. Blaine Stewart joins us today.
Hey!
Hi, Blaine.
Thanks for having me.
My friend, it is great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is so cool. You and I hang out every once in a while.
We do.
We chill on my couch and watch TV, and so this is just like that. Yeah. That's how I'm picturing it, but this time I'm wearing shoes.
Yeah, there you go. And we're a little bit more dressed up than we would normally be.
Yeah, I got to talk to you about that.
Let's talk about the game show thing. This is because this is a thing that we do when we hang out is watch old game shows. And
what's wrong with us?
No, I'm fascinated by it. I learned so much from you, but you have this incredible wealth of knowledge about game shows, not even just American game shows, but ones from across the pond as well.
Bruce's Price is Right is a gem.
I want to dig into the different Prices Rights. As we're recording this right now, the Price is Right is on and a television in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
So don't get distracted.
Lower.
But yeah, tell me about when you were a kid. When did you discover that you loved the game show format?
So I'll take it back to the summer of like 1980 something. You know, what do? You don't go to school in the summer. You hang out at grandma's house, whatever, and she's watching The Price is Right, her stories, Young and the Restless and everything. And I just got hooked. I don't know if it's the cheesy music or like the flashing lights or what, but I was enthralled with, especially The Price is Right.
Yeah.
That was sort of, and still is, the one. The dream job. Drew Carey, I'm going to take him down, and I'm ready to take his job. He's going to retire at some point. But it's just always been something that I really enjoyed. And now with YouTube, you can watch every classic game show there ever was. So a wild Friday night for me is curling up with some Match Game or Classic Concentration.
Yes, Classic Concentration. One of the most complicated game show premises to have ever existed, and it was around for a long time.
And at most, unless you win big in the bonus round, you're walking away with like a baker's rack and, like a weird brooch and a green take.
This is a game where it's a memory style game first.
Yeah, so you have to sort of you have to remember where the prizes are that are covering a puzzle. And then you have to solve that puzzle.
Yes. And then the puzzle that is solved is this sort of sometimes very obscure pictogram that would be like...
Even back in the 80s, it was weird.
Yeah. And then when you did bad at the game, Alex Trebek would make fun of you.
He would shame you.
But with The Price is Right, one thing I didn't know was that there were so many different formats of The Price is Right.
Oh, yeah. So there are several versions of the U.S. Price is Right. Back in the 72 is when the new Price is Right started, the one we know today. And there was a daytime and a nighttime version.
And that aired on the same day.
Yes, so the daytime was 5 days a week, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
No big wheel. And then the nighttime version was just once a week.
Oh, wow.
It was usually syndicated, different hosts. And then eventually that went away and it became the show we know today. But there's also, there was another nighttime Price is Right in the 80s. There are many international versions. We enjoy watching Bruce's Price is Right, which is the UK version.
Yes.
Prizes aren't as good over there.
No, but it's weird how the same format can feel so different with different creatives involved.
But at the heart of it, the game is still shopping, which is something we all do.
It's true.
So it makes it a very relatable show that people can sit at home and think, I could win on that show. And that's half the fun of a game show.
Yeah.
Is thinking, I could have done that.
Yeah. With The Price is Right, I feel like everyone just remembers the Bob Barker version and then Drew Carey. But yeah, it's a much more expansive saga.
Bill Cullen, the OG host.
Wow.
I owned a pair of Bill Cullen's cufflinks and lost them in a recent move, so I'm heartbroken.
You'll find them.
I hope so. My heart will go on.
Yeah. You love to collect, I don't want to say like
dumb stuff?
No, but like mementos of things that mean a lot to you. Those cufflinks are a great example. And you're a guy that doesn't have a lot of possessions either.
I don't like stuff.
Yeah.
I'm really bored. But I do have the cufflinks. I've got like some hockey memorabilia.
Yeah.
I've got some old mic flags for the kids at home. That's like the little, when you watch the news on Channel 3 and they're holding the microphone, there's the 3. So like everywhere I've worked, I've taken one of those. Sorry.
No, but that's cool. And yeah, I mean, you don't have a lot of stuff, but the stuff you have out on display, everything has a story.
It's got to mean something. Otherwise, it's just clutter.
Yeah. Well, your career sort of represents that as well.
A lot of clutter.
No, I was going to say it represents your love for television and media in general, because you worked in radio for a long time as well. When did that start in radio? When did you get your start in radio?
I got my start in radio right after I graduated high school. Actually started TV before radio.
Really?
So in high school, the local CBS affiliate back in New Orleans, WWL, had a teen talk show that was on like Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock after the cartoons. And they would get kids from high school to be like panelists on the show. And for some reason, they saw something in me. And so I would turn stories once a week that they would end up airing on the 12 o'clock news. So in my high school senior year is when I really kind of got into the business, and I've been doing it ever since. And I'm not going to tell you how long ago that was.
No, that's amazing. Where did you live?
1993.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't born yet. I'm sorry. Where did you live at that time, Blaine?
Right outside of New Orleans. I grew up in basically, I don't know, the Chesapeake or western branch of that city, right on the other side of the river. You know, just a suburb about 15 or 20 minutes from downtown, but it was close enough where you get the flavor of New Orleans and then go home.
What did you like about growing up in New Orleans?
There's no other place like it.
Yeah.
And you don't fully appreciate that until you move away. And then you see that there's really something special there. It's the people, the locals. You never meet a stranger when you're walking down the street there. Everyone is friendly. It's a gritty town, but it's got a great little edge to it. I love it.
Yeah. When you started in radio, after you had some experience in TV, do you remember learning any big lessons that you still have with you?
Oh, my first radio boss when I was an intern, the best advice he ever gave me was learn how to do everything in the building. The more jobs you know how to do, the more valuable you will be. And I have taken that advice to heart. I try to learn as much as I can about every job, even today. So that way, if for some reason I've got to step in a pinch, I'm not saying I'm going to win an award for it, but it'll get done.
Yeah, but it's a good skill to have, especially in TV. I think a lot of folks don't realize how everybody has to have a lot of tools on the belt.
Well, I remember, as a kid thinking I wanted to be a news anchor, age 9 or 10, something like that. And I thought, well, they must, for the 6 o'clock news, they must get there around 5:30, just sit at the desk. Somebody brings them a script, they read it and go home. And obviously it's nothing close to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what does a news anchor do exactly?
So for the morning show here at Channel 3, for example, so we're in about 3:30. So my alarm goes off around 2:30. And as soon as I wake up, I'm reading emails, trying to catch up on, what's happened in the world overnight. You get into work, you start reviewing your scripts that the producers have written overnight, work with them on what the final show is going to look like. Show goes on at 5. From 5 to 9, we're doing the news. After that, we have meetings in the newsroom. Then most days I'm running out to do a story, turn for the next morning or something like that. So it's a 9-10 hour day some days. And the best part is it's never the same day twice. The routine might be the same, but the news changes. So it's always something new.
And when you go out and shoot stories, sometimes you're a one-man band out there as well.
So that's something that for me started a lot during the COVID years because we were not really paired up with photographers as much. You got to keep your distance. So I learned how to do everything on my phone.
Yep.
So I did a series back in 2020, 21 called We're Local. And it was highlighting local businesses that were open at the time and how they were trying to survive and adapt. And I shot everything on my phone and I edit everything on this phone. So this was my COVID storytelling device right there. And that's kind of a skill I picked up. And now it's just kind of fun because people open up a little more when you don't have a giant camera.
Yeah, and the lights and everything.
We're so used to being on these things now that this is very disarming. But a giant camera, you kind of freeze up a little bit.
Yeah. Let's talk about some career highlights. Are there any moments that you look back on as totemic things that you were witness to? Or there's something in radio, a story that I've heard that you experienced around a certain pop musician.
Are we talking the Britney Spears story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I grew up in New Orleans. My first radio job was at a pop music station in New Orleans. Britney Spears also grew up in that same area. So we were her local pop radio station. So it's, I guess, 98, Baby
That
One
sounds
More
about
Time,
right.
her first hit single came out. And we had started playing that song before any other station because she was a hometown girl. So, you kind of, we knew that it was probably going to do well. But her mom would call the station multiple times a day to request that song because that's what you're going to do. Your baby has a song, you're going to ask for it on the radio. And so we developed kind of a rapport. So one afternoon, she called me up and said, hey, I'm about to pick Brittany up from the airport. She's never heard her song on the radio before. It's going to be about 30 minutes. Do you think you can play it? Now, little inside baseball here. Generally, the answer is no. When you call the radio station and ask for a song, unless it's already on the list, they're not going to play it. Well, it happened to be on my list in about 45 minutes, so I looked like a hero. I played the song, never expecting anything else to happen. Years later, in one of Brittany's autobiographies, she tells the story of that day. She was getting into the car from the airport. Wow. She turned the radio on to 104.1, and coming out of the speakers was Baby One More Time. So the first time Britney Spears ever heard her first song on the radio, I played it. You're welcome, America.
That's incredible. When you got your first professional gig at a TV station, what were you doing and where was it?
Every job I've gotten in TV, I've kind of started small and worked into a bigger role. So my first job was behind the scenes writing scripts for the morning news back in New Orleans. And I worked my way up to producing one of those shows.
Which means what for people who don't know the parlance?
So the producer is there. Say the show goes on at 6 a.m. The producer gets in at 10 o'clock the night before and spends 7 hours deciding which stories go into the newscast, writing most of them, deciding which video elements go in, which anchor is going to say at the graphics. They are the creator of the show. And so that's how I got my start behind the scenes. I moved on to a station in Mississippi doing that same thing. And then one night, the 10 o'clock news was about an hour away and the anchor suddenly had an emergency. Wow. She had to go home, take care of a sick kid, and there was no one to anchor the news. Well, I happened to have a suit handy. Threw it on, anchored the 10 o'clock news. The next day, my boss said, so do you want to keep doing that? And I said, yes. And I did.
Wow.
So I've had that kind of story in a lot of the places where you get your foot in the door and then kind of prove what you got.
Yeah. When did you end up landing here in Norfolk at WTKR?
New Year's Day, 2007.
Wow.
I moved here. So we just hit 18 years, which is wild.
Coming up on the big 20-year anniversary. Huh?
I didn't really know anything about Norfolk before I moved here. I expected to be here for like a year. And because that's how it works in the TV business.
Most people, yeah, you move around.
You bounce around to find a good fit, or the station may bounce you on their own,
sure,
just depending on how that works out. But the fact that I've been able to be here for so long, I am so lucky.
Yeah.
And I don't take that for granted.
You've seen a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Number one, I mean, I hope you don't mind me mentioning, you haven't always been bald.
What?
You were probably born bald.
No, I was born with a head full of hair. I wasted it on my youth. That's funny. Whenever I post a picture of me as a kid or like anything before the age of 30, whatever, when I shaved it, people are stunned that I had hair. Did they think I was like a bald 9-year-old?
You had so much hair.
I
legendary bowl cut. That was
so I was born in '77, and a lot of kids there had the JFK son, like the John Jr. like bowl cut,
yeah,
shaggy thing, and I guess that was what my mom wanted me to have. So the first 6 years of my life, I didn't have ears; it was just covered by hair.
Yeah. So in addition to that change of becoming a bald man, you've also seen. I mean, this station has. This is our 75th anniversary.
Yeah, it's coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah. So just in your time here, I know there's been at least 3 different major aesthetics that we've had. You know, when local news kind of changes and the studio gets redone and the graphics all look different.
Yeah, when I came in, it was I think it was like purple.
And it was like
robot arms.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things I remember. And then we had a boss come in and said, "Okay, let's class up the joint a little bit." We went a different direction. So it's it's interesting to see things evolve.
Yeah.
Over 18 years, we thought that was so high tech back then.
Well, it was.
We were in standard definition when I got here.
Wow.
Yeah.
The shift to HD. Were you thrilled when you got to scoot farther away from your co-anchor at
Yeah,
the
because
desk?
back in the day, you got to sit really close.
It would be so tight.
2-shot. Now I love I love personal space. I'm a big bubble guy.
You are, yeah.
So, yeah.
You love blown bubbles.
Big fan.
So,
It's not in my soup.
That's good. That's very polite.
Yeah.
What are some standout stories that you've covered as an anchor, as a reporter? Standout moments from your career?
I mean, so many. Just here in Norfolk for 18 years. One of my first assignments was I was the nightside reporter. I got a phone call about 9 in the morning from the boss saying, "Pack a bag, you're going to Blacksburg." And my first thought was, "What's Blacksburg?" So I just moved here, and that, of course, sadly, was the massacre at Virginia Tech. Spent a week there. Covering stories, talking with local students. That's something I'm never going to forget. On a brighter note, there's a story that I will never forget that involves a bear on the loose. And I had a boss who said, "Well, you need to do tips in case people encounter the bear." So I may have taken it a little literally, but it involved me carrying around a mannequin and acting out what to do. So really some highs and lows. Career point wise, at the end of my journalism career, I hope that's the story they play. I'll send it to you, the clip on YouTube.
What's a story that you've been working on recently?
So I do a lot of military stories. That's one of my beats that I cover. So I've been doing a lot of things with veterans and some heavy stuff. So when I get to do lighter things, I really enjoy that. I did a story not too long ago about a bunch of senior citizens who did a book drive. At their apartment complex. I did a story not too long ago about a free bookstore in Norfolk. Never knew it existed. It was a COVID pop-up for a month, and the response was so overwhelming that people said, "Hey, can you stick around?" So they're 5 years in. You literally walk in with your kids, and it's like a free bookstore. You just pick out the books and you go home.
It's not a library, though.
So the library, you got to bring it back. This is yours to keep. And the person who runs that, she was telling me that's the important part, that ownership. And when kids have their own books and they can actually read, that sets them up for success.
I did a story recently with my co-host, April Woodard, on Coast Live. For anyone that's watching this and doesn't know, I host a talk show here at WTKR, weekdays at 9 a.m. And we went out to Hodges Manor Elementary in Portsmouth.
Oh, yeah.
And we read a book to some first graders. The name of the book escapes me right now, but, you have 15 or so students there. And, they're excited about the cameras and excited to have new people in the room. But when you start reading to them, the way that their imagination is immediately captured.
Yeah.
You forget as a jaded adult. You do. I mean, and I'm not a big reader. I read teleprompter all day and emails constantly.
True. Yeah. That's the extent of your literature.
It is. I haven't picked up a book in a long time. And so to see that magic of just a child, a whole group of them being read to, and they're just all there in that moment, it was remarkable. And it was a beautiful moment of everybody being present.
Yeah.
And it sparks creativity and joy. And the sad thing is that, and this is the reason for places like the Big Free Bookstore existing, right, is that not every child has opportunity and access to read.
I interviewed a mom while I was there, asking her what that place meant to her and her family. She said, "Listen, we don't have a ton of money, right? I cannot give my kids everything they want, but I can put a book in their hands and they can open that and be instantly transported anywhere in the world." And I think that's so key is how books can unlock the world. I mean, as a kid growing up in the 80s, my favorite books were the encyclopedias. Because you can learn so much just by opening that one book, and it can take you places that you might never be able to afford to go. And this is before the internet, right? Yeah. But it's something tangible. You can hold it in your hands. It's yours. And it's really cool to see the impact that some words on pages can unlock for a kid.
Absolutely. What was your favorite letter from the encyclopedia?
Oh, T. And I'll tell you why. Tunnels. So I'm kind of like a bridge tunnel nerd.
Yeah.
And, obviously that's great living around here. We've got bridges and tunnels all over the place, but we had that back in Louisiana on the water too. So I loved learning about tunnels. I learned about the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel when I was a kid, thanks to T. I think it was TA to TU. It was split up. The T's were split up.
Because T's, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
That's the thing people don't realize.
Well, the blank, that's half the book right there.
Son of a gun. You're right. Let's do, what they love on these podcasts is ranking. Look, can we just do our what's the mountain with the presidents on it?
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, can we do a tease Mount Rushmore?
Mount Trashmore?
Yeah, that could be Mount
The
Trashmore.
Mount Trashmore of books.
So I'll pick four. Number one, I'm going to go big legend with small arms, Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Okay. Is that a book or a dinosaur?
The dinosaur.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are we doing a Mount Rushmore of dinosaurs?
No, of T.
Of
Letter
T.
T.
Okay, I'm gonna go with telemarketing.
Telemarketing.
Yeah. Who among us has not been telemarketed to?
Yeah. And you know what? Used to do some good, I would presume.
I was a telemarketer for 2 weeks. Didn't sell a single thing until I got canned.
Did you get a paycheck still?
No. It was a wasted 2 weeks.
Telemarketing is up there.
I felt bad calling the people, so I just never really called.
I understand. Yeah, well, I'm assuming it would feel like a hassle.
Right.
I'm sorry for the people that have to do that. My third one, topography. Really important to know what is out there in the world and what the various elevations are, I think.
All right. And I'm gonna go off the board with the T's, and I'm gonna say table manners. Very
So
important.
undervalued,
Yeah.
and sadly absent in today's world.
The fork goes on the left, to the left, I think that's how you remember it.
Yeah,
That's what that Beyonce song was about.
that is what it is about.
Where does the dinner spoon go?
Yeah.
To the left.
If you go to genius.com and look up the commentary on the highlighted lyrics, that's what it's
That's
about.
what it's about, yeah.
But no, so see, look how fun reading is. So talking about an encyclopedia. It started that whole bit.
Well, even today, I mean, I'm slightly older than a teenager, but I still keep a browser tab on Wikipedia all the time just because you don't realize, I guess, daily, like how we are able to look things up so fast.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, if you wondered about something, you had to find someone who knew.
Yeah,
Now you just go online
that's so true.
or open a book.
Yeah. I think that's something that, you can't blame younger generations for taking it for granted because they've had the access to information.
It's all they know.
You're right. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have the internet in my house as a kid for a long time.
When I was a kid and we didn't know a song lyric, we just had to figure it out. Now they're all online.
Well, some of the artists have put it in
The little liner notes.
Liner notes.
Yeah, you open your cassette and you're like, oh, okay, that's what he's saying.
Yeah. No, but it was kind of like, how different folks in the States have different accents. Like you might have someone who has a total different read on these song lyrics.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I love a good misunderstood song lyric.
Blaine, we have a campaign that we're doing at WTKR.
Yes, vote for me.
It's not that. That's the other one. But no, it's WTKR, our partner, Southern Bank. This is through our parent company, the EW Scripps Company. They have a fund called the Scripps Howard Fund, which tries to do good in the community. Nationwide, they have this campaign called If You Give a Child a Book. We have a branch of that campaign here. And what's cool about it is that all the money raised, though it is a national campaign, the money raised in our part of it stays here locally, right?
So we collect every $6 that's donated. That's one more book that goes into the pile. And then we have book fairs throughout the year at different schools. We select schools with deserving students. Hodges Manor is one of the schools that we've done these book fairs at. And a lot like the free bookstore, the kids walk in, they make their choices, free book. And it's all because of donations. And it's really, really amazing to watch a kid's face light up when they're able to take something home like that they did not think that they would be able to do.
Yeah. The book fair, I have great memories from the book fair.
The Scholastic Book Fair.
Yeah.
I would go crazy on stickers and posters. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Oh, and the erasers and
Yeah.
pencils and, junk, not literature.
Right.
But
My mom always said you have to have one book.
Yeah, for sure. But, I do remember, like, the financial stress of that. You only had a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
And frankly, I was one of the kids. I didn't have as much money as other kids in the class. So these free book fairs that are able to exist because of this campaign, these kids are going in without a worry. And they know you get to go pick out this many books and there's no financial concern at all. So,
It's a confidence builder.
yes, for sure. 100%. And it levels the playing field.
Yeah.
There's plenty of data that shows that the students who have less access to books, that obviously creates lower literacy rates over time, and then that causes things like the continued cycle of poverty.
Yeah.
You're not able to get employed at jobs that are, this is all stuff that's been...
These are statistics. This isn't just anecdotal.
No.
There's actual proof that there is a huge domino effect, and it starts so early.
Yeah. Well, Blaine, it's been great to talk to you today, man. Thank
It's
you
been
so
fun.
much. There was one question I didn't get to here. When you were in radio in New Orleans, did you get to interview Marty?
Marty?
Yeah, Marty Gras. All right, man. Well, we can end it there. Sorry, man. I've had that one in my pocket for for like however
He's
long we've been
elusive.
talking.
He's elusive.
He's a hard guy to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Busy during February, especially.
Yeah, and he's probably easier now to get a hold of.
Blaine, let's do the plugs, man. How can people find your entertainment and information via the news and your work on the radio here?
So every morning from 5 to 9 on WTKR News 3. Every night from 7 to midnight on 94.9 The Point. And anywhere on your social media.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your anecdotes from your time working in the business, man. I wish we had more time to talk.
Thanks for having me on. I hope it wasn't bad enough to cancel this whole thing.
No, I think we're going to do at least one more. And April will host.
I'll be watching.
Well, we'd love to have you back next time.
Thank you.
Well, we'll talk about it. Hey, if you want to find more of me, the place
And who doesn't?
The place is WTKR News 3 at 9 a.m. weekdays. That's where Coast Live happens with my co-host, April Woodard. It also airs at 10 a.m. on our sister station, WGNT. I'm also on social media at Chandler Nunnally. And this podcast, Virginia Insider, is presented by WTKR and WGNT here in Norfolk, Virginia. Once again, I am Chandler Nunnally. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with us. Blaine, you're the man.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, Mom.